Hi, this is Donna, and I am new to this. I see my glasses are glaring. Let's try this. Um, I am going to grab my tea real quick. I will be right back. My simple retirement journey about 2 months ago. I think I'll just chat until I see somebody here. Um, let's see here. I retired in 2021. I had a job as an accountant for a not-for-profit corporation, and I was pretty stressed out. So I retired, and at that time, I was 69 and a half years old. And a few months after I retired, I got really bored, which I was kind of surprised. So I took a part-time job and worked some temp jobs, and I did that for about 3 years. And then I finally retired for good a little over a year ago. And I haven't looked back. I don't miss going into work anymore, so that's a good thing. Tonight's topic, I thought a nice little icebreaker, since we're all new here, would be to talk about our favorite hobbies. And mine happens to be knitting. And I'm going to move my glasses real quick. I am currently working on a little dishcloth. And this is what it looks like right now. I have knit lots of these dishcloths over the years. They are 100% cotton, and I love doing my dishes with them. The material is soft. It's got a little bit of what do you call it? A depth that kind of helps get things that don't quite want to come off your dishes. So I thought I would sit and knit a little. And I wasn't sure how it would look on here. Evidently, you can't see me knit, so I'll pretend you can see me knit. I learned how to knit a long time ago. Oh, that's silly. I'm gonna put down my knitting needles. My mom taught me how to knit when I was about 10 years old, and I did some pretty basic things. And now, oh, and then I did a few basic things and set it aside. Then when I was in high school, I really got into knitting again, picked it up, and it's been a hobby ever since. And I can see one person has liked. I don't know how to see if anybody's talking. So if anybody wants to say hi, please say hi. This is all kind of new to me. Reading. I've got all these. Send a message every 15 seconds. Oh, it asked me how fast I wanted to talk. Oh, I see some Michelle. Hi, Michelle. I'm going to say hi just to see how I look. Hi, Lisa. I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I can't really read your names. So we've got Simply Michelle's Budget Life, and we have Lisa Smitty. So hi, Lisa. I don't think I know you yet. I'm glad you stopped by. And tonight we're talking about our favorite hobbies. So if either one of you want to tell us what kind of hobbies you enjoy, I'd like to hear about it. I was talking about knitting, and I don't know if you both saw this or not, but I'm knitting a dishcloth, and it's pretty easy to do. So I'm going to put it down. Hello, Leisure 057. How are you tonight? And do you have a first name we could call you by? Um, I didn't know if anybody would show up or not. I'm thrilled to see that there's 3 people that have said hi. Another one of my, oh, your name is Mary. Hi, Mary. One of my other hobbies is gardening, and it's that time of year. These are tomatoes. These are these are paste tomatoes. I like to can tomatoes, and I this is a huge tomato. I'm not going to bore you with fruit or veggies all night. But this is called an African Amish paste or an African paste tomato. A local fruit stand, she said friends of theirs brought these huge tomatoes home from Africa, and they save seeds, and now they're the African tomatoes. And Lisa says she'd like to learn to knit, and she enjoys art journaling and mixed media painting as well as watercolor painting. That sounds like a fun thing to do. I'm left-handed. We're supposed to be creative, but I'm not very creative when it comes to painting or anything like that. And Michelle said she attends a knitting crochet group a couple times a month. You're a novice, but the other women there are very skilled. Well, I'm sure they will help you along. Yeah, and my tomatoes do kind of look like a red pepper, don't they? I cooked a bunch of tomatoes the other day, and I'm gonna freeze them. Let's see. Another favorite hobby I have, I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading historical fictions. I like to have something with a little bit of meat to it to keep my interest. I find some of the contemporary romance, there's not really much of a plot. And after a while, after you've read the author a few times, all her books kind of look the same. Simply Michelle, are you the one that lives out in Washington State? I think I have read and the Ladies of the Club. There's one funny book. I didn't bring it with me. It's a in the title. It's a really long title. It's the 100-Year-Old Man, and he climbs out of a window of his retirement community on his 100th birthday, and he runs away. And it's quite an interesting book. And I'm sorry, my poor nose. Um, I could talk about knitting a long time. You never know how much you're going to bore people. I'm glad you loved the book. I read a lot of books through Hoopla. Hoopla is through our local library, and I'm pretty sure, well, I like to think that libraries have these digital options, but they're ebooks and audiobooks. So I listen to some audiobooks, and I enjoy reading the ebooks too. And the nice thing about using Hoopla is after 21 days, the book goes away. You never have to return the book to the library. What else could we talk about? Mary hasn't read much since the 90s. I'm kind of that way too. I read when I was younger, and then in the 90s, I got divorced and I went to college, and that ruined me on reading for pleasure. So now that I'm retired, I do read a little bit. I might talk about my day a little bit. My alarm goes off at 7 in the morning. Oh, comic book. Hi, comic book. And you used to be your hobby used to be comic books, and now you like reading contemporary poetry and Catholic poetry. That sounds interesting. And Lisa wants to know, what do I enjoy doing the day? Thank you for an open-ended question. My alarm goes off at 7. Sometimes I get up and sometimes I don't. I'll sleep in a little bit. And one thing I really enjoy doing is I started journaling when I retired a year ago. And I don't know why I do this, but first thing I do is I write the temperature for the morning and what the high is going to be. And then I just write about whatever's on my mind, whatever's on my mind. And I find that it's contemplative and it helps set me for the day. And I'm curious about comic book aesthetic. Um, is Catholic poetry a lot different than the Psalms? Is it contemporary poetry? And Simply Michelle has given a site for free public domain audiobooks. And thank you for that. I'd forgotten about that site. It's Libra, Librilvox. Well, and there's a dot after it. I have a set of books my grandmother had when she was a child, and they were called Elsie Dinsmore. And I think there's 28 books. And it starts when she's a child and it ends before she dies. I think she's like 80 years old. And I dug one out the other night. I thought I need to read through these. And I was a young teen when I got them, and I enjoyed reading them at the time. So I think I'm gonna get them again. Lisa Smithy's talking about the book The Artist's Way. Oh, it encourages a practice called morning pages, which is journaling the first thing in the morning, similar to what I do. I've watched a few people on YouTube that do that. And if I remember right, they suggest you write 3 pages. I don't always have 3 pages to write, but it's something worth doing, I think. It's it gives purpose to our lives just to sit down and put pen to paper. Did I say that right? Pen to paper. Yeah. Sometimes I get my words mixed up. Um, Comic book answered, poetry is the sister of prayer. I just got the book for cheap on Amazon. It's called 100 Great Catholic Poems. That sounds really interesting, Cosmic. Ride Free. Hello. I'm glad you enjoy my budgeting video. Thanks for sharing and being so open. And my simple retirement journey, I wanted to talk about everything. I'm a retired accountant, so numbers are kind of my bag. And I have a spreadsheet and I enjoy keeping track of everything. So I wanted budgeting to be a part of my videos, but I've discovered that my best viewed videos are budgeting ones. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do with my YouTube video going forward. And that's that story. And Leisure Blank, which I think your name is Mary. Um, I love to watch how other people spend their money too. You're nosy. Well, I'd be pretty boring, to be honest. I live on about $2,000 a month, and so money is kinda tight. I'm content where I'm at. Um, I know a lot of people like to travel in retirement, and I'm single, so I didn't find that too appealing. And my hobby is knitting. Knitting can get expensive, and I keep buying books too. So I guess that's my second expensive hobby. Um, I think being an accountant, um, I enjoy keeping track of where money goes, what's coming in and what's going out. So I kind of enjoy doing that. I'm just excited there's so many people here. I I'm fairly new to the YouTube channels, and I stumbled onto a group of people, and I was hoping Evie would be here. Evie is one of the people that I know the best, and they get together every Friday and they talk about starting a YouTube channel. And hi, Diane. You're not late. I'm glad you came. Diana, I believe is your name. And Mary, I'm always trying to I'm always trying to declutter. um, it's easy in the beginning because you have so much stuff, but after a while, it gets a little harder to get rid of things. Comic book, you live by two nice libraries, so you often borrow books to read rather than buying them. I've done that a lot too. If it's kind of a documentary type book or knowledge, a self-help kind of book, I'll look at it, I'll read it at the library, and if I really like it, then I'll go buy it. Ride free, I will keep posting my numbers. Um, oh, I love Buzz's retirement garage. He's great. He did another one today. Today I watched it today. I love his channel. If any of you haven't gone on to Buzz's retirement channel, you need to give it a try. He's a down to earth, nice guy. Lisa wants to know if I live in a retirement community. And no, I don't. I own my own home. I bought my home 30 years ago, and I was in my late 30s, and I still had one child at home. He was 16, I think, old enough to drive, and wanted to stay in the school system. So I found this home. It's a ranch. It's 1,400 square feet. It's on a small lot. And actually, I bought it with retirement in mind. I wanted a smaller home and a small yard, so when I got older, there wouldn't be quite so much upkeep. And that was one of the best things I've ever done for myself. And a couple other people have commented they like Buzz too. Oh, yes. Thank you, Jimmy. Hit the like button. And thanks for coming on, Jimmy. We started talking about favorite hobbies. Do you have a favorite hobby you'd like to talk about? And back to Ride Free, do you do well with budgeting? Or are you at budgeting 101 and need some guidance to budget your money better? If you're just getting into budgeting, maybe I could do some basic budgeting channels, videos for you. Jimmy likes working on old cars from time to time. My son does that for a living. He's a transmission guy, and he always has a bunch of cars in his garage. He's got a pole barn and everything, and he really enjoys that. He did not get that skill from his mom because I don't know. I'm terrible at putting things together. And Lisa, says I was smart thinking and pre-planning ahead of time. And yeah, I'm thankful I thought of that too. Diana is a pen on paper with her budget. I like writing things out too. I'm not too big on the electronics. Now, I do have an electronic spreadsheet. At the end of the month, I'll plug everything in, and I keep what I call a bare bones budget, and I update that every once in a while. Like my mortgage just went up $40 a month here recently, so I added that. But it's kind of nice to have the baseline, and then during the month, I will handwrite things. I have a calendar I use, and I'll write things on a calendar. Let's see, Ride Free, she's been tracking her budget for years. Oh, you're a retired nurse, and your husband's going to retire next year. Trying to learn how others make it on retirement income. I think one of the best things to plan for is if you know what your Social Security is going to be, maybe 12 months out, try living on the Social Security income you anticipate you'll receive, and then put the rest of the money in savings. So that kind of gives you a trial run of what life will be what life will be like after you retire. And I guess, if you're close to retirement, try to pay off as much debt as you can. That's one piece of advice I would give you too. And Lisa commented on being in a ranch home. Yes, I'm glad I don't have stairs. The older you get, the more your knees creak. Yeah, my home, I'm very happy with it. It's kind of got the open concept. The living room, great room, dining room, and kitchen are all kind of one big area. And then there's three bedrooms off to the end of the hallway. And Diana, congrats on just retiring. Still getting adjusted. The first few months you think you're still on vacation, and then reality sets in. One thing I had a little bit of trouble with when I first retired was just getting into a routine every morning. I was starting to sleep in, and then I'd go to bed later and later, and then I'd wake up at 10 the next morning. I go, and the day's half done. So I think getting into a routine is important. And I mentioned earlier, journaling has kind of helped ground me a little bit. And I also do a little prayers and some Bible reading. That's important to me too. So I try to set aside that time in the morning before I do anything else. And I think just in retirement, it takes a while to get into the routine of retiring. And on a funny side, if you make a doctor's appointment and say, never before 10, I don't want to have to get up early just in case. So I try to make my appointments mid-morning at the earliest. And I know a few people ask me what I did over Labor Day. Well, when you're retired, every day is kind of a holiday. So it's just another day to me. I have kind of a funny story this morning. About 10 to 6, no, 10 to 7 this morning, I heard what I thought was my neighbor mowing his yard. I thought, what's he doing mowing the yard at 10 to 7 in the morning? I was kind of mad. And then I heard a big thump. I thought, that's not good. So I eventually got up, and it turned out it wasn't my neighbor mowing his yard, but the neighbor across the street was getting her roof reshingled. So the noises I heard was the truck um, getting into reverse, going up the driveway, and then dropping the shingle. So I was way off base this morning. Simply Michelle says she worked 3 12-hour shifts a week. It's sort of like, oh, you work 3 12-hour shifts a week. It's sort of like being semi-retired. And her dad is the same way about appointments now. So, Simply Michelle, do you work 3 days in a row? Do you have the same 3 days every week? My sister does that. She works like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then she's got the rest of the week off. And Janet says her husband and her will both be retiring the end of the year, and she will continue to work part-time. Home and cars are all paid off, and you have 2 credit cards you're paying off. Well, good for you. My car is paid off, and it's kinda nice not having that car payment. And Comic Book says he won't be retiring for another 5 years, so you're getting things set up in the meantime, and that's very wise. I don't know if you work for a company, but if you are, um, if you can contribute the max to a retirement fund, that's really good advice. And that's all the advice I'm gonna give. I'm not a financial planner. I just, I'm a planner from the School of Hard Knocks. Michelle says she works no more than 2 days in a row, and the shifts vary. Variety is the spice of life, right? Do you, Michelle, do you work in a certain area of the hospital? And I hear nursing is tough, and I can't imagine there's all the paperwork you have to fill out on the patients and everything. I think that would be a difficult job. Janet drives a 1999 Toyota Xenia van. Hey, Toyotas last forever. Ride free, work life has been very tough, and after 30 plus years, you've had enough. And I do hear you on that one. Um, I was an accountant in the corporate world, and yeah, it's stressful. Lots of jobs are stressful. Um, I had a back to cars. I had a 2002 Alero, and I got rid of that last summer. And I have a used Corolla Toyota. It's a 1999. No, it's a it's a 2019 Corolla, and a minister owned it, and he had about 46,000 miles on it. And I said, "Well, the car's been blessed. I think it's good." He kept it in immaculate condition. So this car looks like it's brand new on the inside. I'm glad I found it. Jimmy says, "Janet, just keep the oil change and check the coolant. That thing will go forever." And that's very true. Leisure Bank has a 2020 Corolla, and yours is messy. We don't make judgments here. So, Ride Free, do you have any hobbies? I'm kind of losing track of what people have said. We wanted to start off talking about our favorite hobbies. I thought that'd be a fun topic to talk about. In Leisure Bank, I think you're Mary. You're a messy person. I'm a messy person too. The funny thing is, I have 2 grown children, and they lived with me all their lives till they left home, and they know I'm kind of a messy person. But when I know they're coming over, I clean the house. I find that kind of funny. Do any of you do that too? Ride free? I kind of like your sense of humor. Oh, gardening, camping, and hiking in 1974. Oh, likes to shout obscenities at their neighbors all day and night. It's great because I get away with it because they see I'm old. Well, I hope you don't yell too loud. I kinda had an opposite thing today. I went to Bible school. I went to a Bible study at my church, and it's a church school too, and my grandson's in the 3rd grade, and he saw me. We were just getting started. He said, "Hi, Grandma." So I went over and I gave him a hug. And then there's a little boy standing next to him. And so I said, "Oh, what's your name?" He told me his name. And I said, "Can I give you a hug too?" And he said, "Yes." And, afterwards I thought it probably wasn't a wise thing to do, but I decided there was a room full of people. And if he said it was okay to give him a hug, then it was okay with me. Janet loves restoring old furniture, woodworking, and crafts. That's interesting. I'm not very good with, I've had what genealogy I have is rather unusual. I only have one American-born grandparent, and the other 3 were all born in England. So I almost have to go to ancestry.com because, um, I've signed up for the international, program so I can research things. They were all born in England, so I can research that. And I enjoy it. The only, thing I run into, my mother's maiden name was Maxwell, and her father's name was Thomas Maxwell, and his dad's name was Michael Maxwell. Well, back in the 1800s, everybody was named Michael or Thomas, and I have trouble trying to figure out, are they uncles? Are they, grandfathers? It's kinda hard to keep track of all that. I need to be more diligent. And retired, inspired. You live in Montgomery, Alabama, and you've been on YouTube for 3 years. So, what do you like to talk about on your YouTube channel? I'm gonna have a sip of tea here real quick. Ah, you have an Air Force base called Maxwell Air Force Base. Interesting. Mary, she searched her mother's name and age and came up with an 800-page book on your father's down the line. How interesting is that? Retire Inspire, you like to talk about travel and retirement side hustles. Oh, that sounds interesting. Do you have a side hustle you like the best? I guess starting this YouTube channel is a semi side hustle. I'm not monetized yet, and my understanding is you have to earn 1,000, not 1,000. You need 1,000 subscribers, but you need to earn $100 before you get a check. And I had one subscriber give me a super chat, and it's under $100. And I don't know when I'll see that money because it's going to be a while before I reach 4,000 watch hours. Ride free, yes. I think I will be there soon. I didn't realize how great a start I had until I started watching other new YouTube channels. I thought, wow, I've been really fortunate. And I think part of it is because there's a big interest on budgeting and retirement. Retire Inspired likes to his favorite side hustle is eBay. Oh, you do quite a bit. You have rental houses, Airbnb, and a flea market booth. And the flea market booth is quickly becoming your favorite. So what do you sell at flea market booths? Do you have a niche of what you like to sell? I live in Indiana, and there's a place called Shipshewana, Indiana, and they have a huge flea market there. It's in the middle of Amish country, and the flea market, I think, is open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I haven't been there in, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years, but it's pretty big. So retired inspired, your niche is vintage video game consoles. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. So you like the old Pac-Man games, that kind of stuff? I'm sure there's a market for that. Oh, you also repair video game consoles. Now that's kind of a cool hobby to have. A little bit of a moneymaker. Do you have any favorite video games that you like? I do play some video games. I was playing Heyday for quite a while, and I had to give it up. It seemed like the more I played, they kept having more and more games and things you needed to do, and I was spending more time than I cared to. So now I do a couple puzzles, and when I'm done with them, I just turn off my cell phone, and that's it. Ah, retired inspired. You learned what you needed to learn watching YouTube. You've never really been someone who plays video games. And Mary likes, I used to love Galaga back in the day. I'm not familiar with that one. Ride free. Yes, puzzles are good for the brain. I got a I found an article on the internet recently, and the it's not the channel, the website is Veg Out, and it's mostly about eating vegetarian, but they have some really good articles about keeping your mind alive and well in your 70s. And I was going to talk about that in a future video. And puzzles was one of them. Oh, Mary says the game she liked, you put a quarter in the machine. So you're talking almost like a pinball game machine. And back to this Veg Out article, they talked about hobbies as being important. And I don't have the notes in front of me, but they suggest that you start with something simple, and when it becomes too simple, and you move up a little bit to something a little more complicated. And I mentioned in the beginning that I like to knit, and there's knitting can get pretty complicated. Some people do color works where they knit with two or three different colors of yarn in the same row, and that would be a challenge for me. So I thought maybe I should do some of that. Diana Peace likes Sudoku puzzles. Yay for numbers. Retire Inspired likes to teach people about the fire movement, and it's retire early. I'm saying that right, wrong. Financial independence, retire early. There, I'm glad you spelled that out for us. And how how did you? Well, I don't want to get too personal, but I guess you have a good paying job and you bank the money, a lot of money away, and then you can retire early. And Michelle said her family had a Fairchild video game console when everyone else had Atari. I've never heard of Fairchild. I do remember Atari and Pac-Man. And then when my oldest grandson was little, I forget what they had now. I've gone blank, but you could play baseball and stuff. It was kind of a sports thing. And he would get aggravated with me because I couldn't keep up with him. You retired with a pension with your state job. That's kinda nice to have, a pension that you can depend on. Um, I have a small pension from when I worked a corporate job. It's about $170 a month, and it's kinda nice. I know what will always be there. As time goes by, it pays for less and less, but I'm glad I have it. Well, Mary, thanks for stopping by, and, she needs to get her soda, and she has a cleanup group that starts soon. And I'm so glad you stopped by and hope to see you again. Retire inspired. You also retired from the Air Force National Guard 10 years ago. Good for you. Kudos to anybody that has served in the military. Um, okay, U.S. Air Force. I kind of wondered. So the Air Force has a National Guard. Wait, never mind. So you were in the National Guard in the Air Force Division? I guess that's what I was trying to ask. My dad served in the Air Force, and he went to England after it was in the mid 50s, early 50s. America was still kind of an ally as the world was trying to reconstruct after World War II. And he met my mom. That's how I came to be. So I'm kind of a product of the US Air Force. Okay, you were active duty for 10 years and then the Guard and Reserves for the second 10 years. So you really did have a career of it. Let's see, what other hobbies do I have? I enjoy flower gardening. I don't do it as much as vegetable gardening. But I keep saying next year I'm going to have a bigger and better flower garden. I haven't gotten around to that yet. I am so glad I have people here. I'm really excited. This is my first video stream, so I wasn't sure what to expect. I mentioned earlier that I ran across a few people that do a Friday Night Live, and they said, Donna, you should give it a try. So I'm giving it a try. Retired. You're also a licensed social worker. Wow, you've done a lot of stuff. Diana lives in a small condo and she misses her gardens. And, I've thought of that. We have some senior retirement communities popping up all over the place. And I would miss not being able to putter around in my yard. I have a small garden. Ride free, yeah, it is kind of fun doing things live. I watch, I'll give a shout out. It's called Deep South Homestead, and they're a homesteading channel, and I've watched them for years and years. And they're just a bunch of nice people, and I learn all kinds of gardening things too. And they live in the deep South, deep Louisiana, and it's kind of funny hearing them talk about vegetables I've never heard of. They talk about muscadines. I think they're grapes. They love their okras and different things. And I live in the north, and it's kind of interesting to hear the cultures around the country. Um, I was gonna sit and knit, but I discovered real quickly that you can't see my hands work, so I am not knitting right now. Right free. Yes, I did have family in Michigan. In fact, I grew up in Michigan, and my great-grandfather, I might have mentioned this, my great-grandfather had allergies really bad, and they built a cabin up in Cummins, Michigan. I'd be shocked if anybody had heard of Cummins, Michigan. It's 9 streetlights long. It's up in Oscoda County. I call it God's country. There's hardly anybody around. It's just a big, huge pine forest. So in the fall, um, well, I grew up near Detroit. We used to go up to the cabin quite a bit, and I miss it up there. And actually, in my 40s, I thought about buying some property up in Michigan. And then I decided, number one, I didn't have enough money. And number two, it's a lot of work maintaining a second property. So I never did that. In fact, I have a lilac tree, a lilac bush in my backyard. I brought a small lilac branch home from the cabin, and my great grandmother planted it. The cabin was built in 1934, so I just think it's kind of cool. I have a piece of history in my backyard. Oh, right for you. You're in the UP, so you understand northern lower Michigan. So, one time, my family and I, when we were married, we went to Florida. We went to Disney World with the kids, and we were in Georgia, and the waitress recognized we didn't have a Georgia accent. So she said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Indiana." And I held up my hand and I said, "The Mitten State," which if you're from Michigan, everybody does that. I lived about right here in Michigan. And my ex-husband and my kids are going, "What are you talking about?" I thought that was kind of funny. And yes, up north has way too much snow. I've been across the Mackinac Bridge a few times, and when you cross the Mackinac Bridge, the landscape is totally different. There's a lot of rocks, and it's just, I guess, when the glaciers carved out the land. And I need to. Sorry, I have allergies. My nose itches. So retired inspired. You lived in Indiana as a kid. It's not a bad place to live. We moved here when I was in high school. I call it home now. I've been in Indiana since 1972, so I call it my home. Um, the cost of living is lower in Indiana than some of the other states. I hear about how much a home costs and how much rents are in the big cities, and I can't imagine living on. I can't imagine having to pay that much. And where I live, a lot of people say this is a good place to raise a family, and I agree with that. The pawpaw fruit. I've never had a pawpaw fruit. I've heard of it. Let's see. I enjoy taking road trips. I live in Indiana, and in like northwest Indiana. Um, there's a lot of there's a fair amount of Amish communities, and they have there's just things up there I like to go see. There's a few really nice flower parks that I enjoy visiting. And I mentioned Shipshawana earlier. That's kind of a cool tourist spot to go to. And I just kind of like roaming around the countryside. Well, ride free, I'm glad you stopped by. And I think I will do this again soon. Thanks for giving input. I've been online for 52 minutes, 53 minutes now, and I think I'm going to shut down at the 60-minute mark. And Michelle, you live in the Pacific Northwest. Not sure if you want or can afford to retire here. And I've heard that too. I was watching a YouTube channel. Turned out she was from the UK and she was 60 years old and recently divorced. And she figured she'd be married forever and she wasn't sure how she was going to live on one income. And my heart just broke for her. Being single a long time, I've had time to prepare. And I don't know, it's tough. Like I said, I'm kind of fortunate. My home is almost paid for, and I don't think I could could afford to buy anything else. And actually, my long-term plan was when I got older, this is in my 40s. I thought, well, when I'm 80, I'll sell my house and I'll live in a retirement community. But if I sold my house now, I wouldn't have enough money to live out the rest of my days. So I hope I can stay healthy and stay where I'm at. Let's see. One other thing, I don't know if any of you watched this yesterday, but I posted, it was a daily devotional, and I was going to do it every day, and here we are on day 2 already. And the day got away with me. Well, I'm trying to do new things with videos, and it takes me a while to get it done. So I guess kind of my question is, should I do Bible videos on a new channel or should I keep them on this channel? So I'm just kind of putting this out there, seeing what others might think. Um, I don't know. I'm on the fence post. Retire inspired, you have led an interesting life. He has a camper and he's traveled to California, Pennsylvania, and Chicago. Do you own a home or do you have a rental that you live in? Owning a home kind of restricts people when I can't take long trips anymore. Okay, Alfonso, I appreciate that comment. Um, yeah, when you start a channel, you try to have a niche, and I don't know how far to spread my wings. I don't want to have too much stuff on all at once. I may start a Bible channel. In fact, originally I was going to do one, and I chickened out, and I decided just to do a general my life in retirement. Retire even has a wife. I shouldn't laugh about that. So, well, I'm glad that that you two agree that it's okay if you travel and she stays home. I think that's good. And actually, at the end of your travel, you have all these cool stories to tell her, and she can tell you about what's been going on in her life. I think that's kind of good. So retire since you have 10 homes. Do you have a home that you like more than the others? I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to subscribe to you, Retire Inspired. I found a YouTube channel a couple days ago about a man who likes to do videos about the state of Indiana, and I enjoyed watching those. And then I think he does some others in the Midwest too. There's um there's one channel I like. I think it's called Through My Lens, and it's a young man, well, he's kind of middle age, him and Pops. they travel around the country, and I enjoy watching their videos. In fact, they just went to they did the Blue Ridge Mountains that came out recently. I enjoy watching them. Pops is probably around 70, and I can relate to Pops sometimes. He doesn't take the steep slopes, or if there's a lot of stairs, he doesn't take them, and they're fine with that. Well, I think I'm going to call it a night, and again, I'm just shocked so many people have come on, and maybe I will make it a plan to come on 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights. And one thing I've been told when you start a new channel is to be consistent. So I will consistently try to stay on Wednesday nights. And again, I really do appreciate everybody that came on board. And I think maybe we'll try for a topic a week, or maybe just organically start talking. I'm not quite sure how to do this. I don't like being in front of the camera. I like being in the back row. So, anyways, thank you all for stopping by. And again, my channel is Simple Retirement Journey, and I'd love it if you would subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it gains it's got gains for me, and it helps my I can't think of the word. Uh, um, Algorithm. That's the name of it. I could see it in my head, but I couldn't pronounce it. So it helps my. I now can't say it again. I get silly. Anyways, I'm going to call it a night, and thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next week. Bye.